Aloha! Welcome to another Mama Presents. I'm Jason Schwartz, and I have a terrific guest today. You know, the Maui Arts and Music Association, we've had interviews with people about politics, about art and music and all kinds of different cultures. And there's some people that you meet that you say to yourself, well, people do it to me. I don't know how to put you in a category because what you talk about seems to span a number of categories. And I'm sitting with someone like that right now. This is Bruce Frantzis. Bruce, thank you for coming to our show.
Jason.
This is not What's My Line, actually. I was going to say, what do you think he does? Bruce is in my opinion, humbly, a gifted Taoist master who has learned Taoism and practices, which he'll share a little bit. He's written 11 books. He is well respected in the industry. He's in the industry of teaching and Taoism. He has students all over the world and has been, how long have you been doing Taoist practice?
50 years, give or take.
50 years. And you can see, he's really 140 years old and he looks young. But the truth is, no, he's not. He's a young guy.
217. 217. That's the last birthday.
But what to me, and the reason we're here today, he wrote a new book and someone said to me, you have to talk to Bruce. He has a book and it's called Taoist Sexual Meditation. Taoist Sexual Meditation? Now, and when I thought, you know, this would be a good subject because my viewers, who are all over the world, millions of them, see them out there? You can see a few, only the first few rows. There you go. Would really like to understand this subject. Sex. I mean, Taoist, we'll talk about Taoism here in a second, but Taoist sexual meditation. What prompted you to write a book about sexual meditation and Taoism, which, when first glance, most people think Taoism as a religion and sexual meditation, they're not sure how to put those things together, but you put them together.
Well, Taoist sexual meditation is part of the Taoist religion. Okay? Like you have Catholicism, you do the rosary and catechism, sexual meditation is a part of it. And originally, I studied to become a Taoist priest. That was a 7-year course of study, of which sex and sexual meditation was a part of it. And then later on, when I was in Beijing, with my mentor, who was the head of a major Taoist lineage, what they call an immortal in China, through him and his friends, I went to pretty much to the end of what that particular subject is. Here's what the thing is. Most religions, in general, they only deal with ordinary sex. Whether you should do it, you shouldn't do it, it's okay, it's not okay, under what conditions, blah, 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 blah. And we're all familiar with that. And so that's ordinary sex. And all you need to do to have ordinary sex is have a body and have a willingness to give it a go. And hopefully have a mind that's loose enough to give it a go, because a lot of people really don't have that even. But then you go to the next level, of which many people are familiar with terms like Tantra, that's used out there. Then you go to the next level, which is energy sex, which is not yet spiritual. It's energetic, where your body has many, many, many energy channels, which can be used for spirituality, but doesn't have to be. And it's about how you have sex to open up the energies inside a human being. Then you go to the third level, where you learn how to do Taoist meditation. You have learned how to open up the channels of your body, and then you start doing that between two people so that you can accelerate this process. Now, both sexual qigong, which is energy sex, and sexual meditation have something in common. In ordinary sex, most people don't have their mind go inside their partner. They cannot feel what their partner is feeling. They cannot feel what's happening inside their internal organs, inside the deeper recesses of their mind. For sure, they get a lot of emotional feelings. But when you start going to energy sex, your mind now gets the ability to go inside somebody's body. A man inside a woman's inside a man's. And then there are ways that each of you helps to open up the channels in the other. If you then go to sexual meditation, you go further. Now, you could have, with energetic sex, just a much better time. A lot more fun. But there's more than that can happen. The more than that can happen is this. People have spiritual blockages. Any text, anything you will read about how people became enlightened, they will discuss the so many things they had to go through to get there. Well, in this, each of you learns how to dissolve the energetic blockages and the spiritual blockages in each other. And this has an effect. If two people are game for it and they can do it, depending upon whether you're dealing with sexual qigong, energy sex, or you're dealing with sexual meditation, you can produce anywhere from more than one to as much as 4 times the amount of energy you could by yourself. This is a practical effect. It means that you don't have enough energy to get through a blockage. That means, it goes on for a long time, and you keep on butting up against the same stuff, and you always stop short because you don't have enough juice to go through it. Well, when you start dealing with sexual meditation, you very often can. And it's considered to be, for those people who can do it, in all, even in Tantra, even in Tibet, it's considered to be one of the really, really fast ways of waking up.
So, some of you out there understood what he said. The last part was the punchline. Taoism is a way of waking up, yes? Waking up to who and what your essence is in the universe?
If you take the word Tao, the Tao itself actually means road, but it means the road the universe travels on. So what are other terms that people use that at least, let's say, have something in common? Remember, Tao is from China.
Right.
Taoism, most people don't know the word Tao, T-A-O. They know that word because they've seen it. But if you want to use the word God, source, enlightenment, awakening, then all of these words, at the end of the day, if you reach the end of any spiritual path, that's where you end up. People can believe in Jesus, but until they actually arrive at where Jesus arrived, then they're not enlightened, if that can happen in Christianity.
And Taoism is a road that you've been practicing to allow you to do just that and to help your students do that.
Yeah.
As a matter of regularity. It's predictable?
Well, in this one sense, if you talk about the spiritual journey, nothing is predictable as to when it will happen. What you can say is a lot of the really major milestones that occur along the way, they're predictable, they're going to happen sooner or later. Not predictable how they're going to happen or how long it's going to take for them to happen.
So, if you were a Christian and you were out there looking, you'd say Taoism and Christianity aren't in fact in conflict, are they?
No, not particularly. I come from a family that's got like a major Christian background. And the fact of the matter is they're not. See, when you get to the point in all religions, you have exoteric and esoteric. Or you have the stuff that's obvious, the organization of the religion, and then you have what the spiritual stuff is. At the spiritual level, you don't get much conflict between any of the world's religions. Where you get the conflicts are organizational areas, because it's tribalism, and they have profit motives, they have status motives, they have belief motives. They believe something and they get very fixated. But when you actually start getting down to the real inner spiritual things, you don't have that much. I'll give you an example. People in the West mostly know Christianity. Okay, so let's just go back to the Catholics, they're the old ones. But they don't realize there was also Eastern Orthodoxy, which at the time the Roman Empire split, was as big or bigger than Catholicism, and was going until, still going to today. Now, in there they have, for example, one place in Greece called Mount Athos, where it's only monasteries, and it's like, that was the spiritual center. Their main thing is not about believing something, it's about finding it as a living, vibrant, personal experience. Not that you believe there's some sort of light, not that you believe God is light or God is this or God, but actually finding out what the metaphors are pointing toward. So it's not about the words, it's about the reality of what created the words to begin with.
And finding a personal experience.
Yes, it's all about personal experience. Sexual meditation, sexual qigong is all about personal experience.
Qigong. Again, some of them know.
Okay.
You have a student, Kurt.
Kurt Miyajima, the Maui movement.
Kurt was on my show
Cool.
in you guys may not remember, let's look at the opening, 1994, and he was a student of yours then.
Yeah,
That's when I first, I think,
Sure.
met you.
Well, we have a studio that my students are kind of having it all together and rotating around the teachers, and it's here in Paia, and it's located around the corner from Mana Foods. There's a whole series of kind of, storefronts and whatnot.
Right.
People ride down the volcano, they got one there, and lots of people got it
So
there.
right on the main drag coming down the mountain, right across the parking lot from Mana Foods,
Yes.
is the next building, and that's where you're at.
Yes, we are technically
What's the
behind
name
the
of the place?
refrigerator. Maui Movement Arts.
Maui
And
Movement
you
Arts.
can find out when their classes are, what they're doing, if I'm personally teaching a class or not. You go to my main website, energyarts.com, energyarts.com,
Okay,
and it'll
you can
just
find that.
tell you what there is to be known about it.
Good. Can they find about your book?
On energyarts.com, sure.
Great. I had only a little time, and when I reviewed the table of contents and started in the forward, I wish to say I could get through the book, but I came to discover very soon in that this has practice. This is, you don't try to race through a book. A book like this is sort of like fine wine. You don't want to race through it and say, yes, I read it. You want to practice it. So
Sure.
This is a great thing. So this could be a tool, could be not only a good tool for people to get closer, myself included, to meditation and finding the essence of my true self in a personal experience, but also people that have already established partners could go through this and practice with their partner. Yes?
Sure, yeah.
Or those of you that may not have a partner as yet, that's another option. And your morality choices, that's another good question. You studied this, morality in different parts of the world, and sexuality in different parts of the world, and religion, all different. Do you find that when you were as a student and through the years, that there's a big difference culturally about sex? I mean, do you...
Well, if we're going to take, you have to take from a couple of different angles. You're talking about generally, and then you're going to say, well, is it generally different in different parts of the Far East, or is it different in Taoism? In parts of the Far East, yeah, it can be quite different. I mean, in America especially, it's useful to remember that America is extremely puritanical, so it tends to alternate between insane repression and extreme hedonism. Where in Asia, they don't necessarily consider hedonism to be a problem. They consider it only to be if it's public, but if it's relatively private, they could care less.
Okay.
Now, if you go past that in Taoism, it goes further than that. If you talk about being inside Taoism, as opposed to people who just go to temples and stick some incense, but the people actually do it and practice it, they are probably the most sexually open group in the world's history that is still currently doing something after a few thousand years. So, for example, first of all, if you take the whole sexual range, you should be a celibate. You should be a priest. And the Taoists have a whole thing about if you want to be a priest, if that suits your nature, then you should do it. Be a celibate, no problem. People go in caves 40, 50 years. Mm-hmm. And if you have that kind of thing, they can deal with celibacy. Then you start going, okay, let's go here. Should you be monogamous? Well, in terms of the 5 elements, if you're primarily a wood element, monogamy probably really suits you.
5 elements, by the way. 5 elements go along with Taoism.
The 5 elements, yes. Well, but you have the 5 elements also in all of Indian culture, also in Buddhist culture. The 5 elements is basically what was considered to be in the majority of the world in the old days, the energetic basis of the planet.
So, for example, I remember studying it as related to acupuncture.
You would get it in acupuncture, you would get it in Ayurveda.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. So a person might want to be monogamous because that suits the element that is dominant in them. Okay, so you go a little bit further down the line. Then you have people who, for example, are water and earth elements. Frankly speaking, in their life, they could sleep with 1,000 people and not be bothered in the least. They'd be fine with it. As a matter of fact, it would be unnatural for them to be either celibate or to be monogamous. So, okay, so you have that range. Now, you have a different thing in Taoism, which is what really kind of breaks the mold in this sense. Mm-hmm. In the West, what we usually have, when most people think of it, they always think in terms of, the term now is polyamory, but it's always really what they're discussing is polygyny. The guy can have all the girls he wants, but the woman has to be faithful. Well, the fact that and in Tibet you had certain places because of economics, we had polyandry where the woman would marry several people because frankly speaking, the men didn't have enough money to have a wife. Okay, so that's what happened. But in Taoism, they didn't mind. They were fine with women or men having partners in or outside marriage. But in what this book is explaining is that One of the things they did, which is something that is not done in the West, is that after they had any sexual encounter, be it with a person they're living with, or be it with someone they met and hang out with them for an hour and never see them again, they dissolve, they release all the energy between them. They release all the karma between them.
Wow.
It's clean. So that then everything is new. Now, in terms of people who are, boyfriends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, whatever, that's rather important, because without being able to do that, you have the issue sooner or later it's going to get really boring. All the stuff that builds up between you, this and that, that's where the resentments come, this comes, that comes. You get rid of it, at least you have a much better chance. And then if you're talking about if you want to sleep with a lot of people, which was easier 20 years ago than today after, all these STDs and whatnot, which are medical issues that can be dealt with, that to be able to release the energy that's coming from a person so you don't carry it with you, well, that means two things. First of all, you don't carry it with you, it's going to mess you up. And second of all, you don't carry it into the next person you sleep with.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this not just in terms of sex, but you do it with someone who's really giving you big troubles at the office, so you can bring that home.
So this energetic sharing, sex is one of a number of ways people can share energetically.
In Taoism, every energy practice, every meditation practice is done 5 ways, period. It is done standing still, moving, sitting, lying down, or in interaction, including we're talking right now.
I see.
Sex is only an interaction, that's all it is. So they don't have this whole, the Taoists, for example, don't have the sacred sex thing. They don't have gods and goddesses. They actually consider that stuff fairly childish.
So that was my one other question. Because the word Tantra is thrown around, like you say, really a lot. You know what Tantra is? Let me hear you.
The word Tantra means continuum. It means something that continues. Okay, the continuum means a continuum of spirituality that can lead you into that which only continues, which is another way of describing the Tao. But what you get is this. Most of what is running around as Tantra is collections of sexual techniques. Or it's somewhere between ordinary sex and sexual qigong. It's how to have sex and have more fun with it. Or else, it's using all sorts of sexual things as a form of psychological therapy for people with all sorts of sexual issues. Trauma, rape, abuse, etc., all these things. They have that in Taoism, but that's not their main focus. Their main focus is getting someone to wake up. So I did Tantra in India. I did both Hindu, I did Hindu Tantra rather extensively. And having been through that, most of what you see in the West is not, to my experience at least, what a lot of what was going on in India. Because there wasn't just, here, I put this in a book, but it's real simple. If you just need permission to have sex, I don't know, find it in a magazine. You don't need to make a whole big spiritual story about why it's fine to have sex. But if you're going to have sex and you want to have it start going into your spiritual depths, you just have to have a pragmatic way of doing it or you don't get there. So it doesn't matter how much inspiration there is about it. If you actually want to have the inspiration become real, as opposed to become this marvelous idea floating around your head, then you have to have some way of doing it. What I found was that the Taoist thing was very pragmatic, very clear. I was 11 years learning this stuff. It's not so simple, it's not so difficult. That's somewhat, phrase I have in Taoism, everything is easy when you can and hard when you can't. Easy for who, hard for who? Hard at what point in time, easy at what point in time? Those are imponderables.
So your book, the table of contents is very full and really...
Sure.
So when I looked at it, I thought, this is really good and someone might use it as a reference manual, but it, what did you tell me? Thousands of hours of meditation.
No, I said thousands of hours into writing the book. A lot of what's in here has never been written.
But not taking and doing the practices.
No, I've got way more than thousands of hours.
No, not you. Someone picks up the book.
Oh.
They're going to say, okay, this isn't the kind of book you want to take it and say, oh yeah, I read that one. This is more like, I'm on page...
if what you're saying that you could use this for thousands of hours, let's say in the sexual arena.
Moving forward,
sure,
to
absolutely.
be learning and growing with your partner and energetically growing and learning. How did you set up this book? Because I think that's a really important thing.
What do you mean set it up?
you set it up. At first, it talks about Taoism and
Oh, I see
practice.
what you're saying. Okay. Well, the book more or less has these sections in it. I mean, anyway, okay. The first one is what is Taoism, and then what is it, and what is the context of it? That includes things like morality. I mean, most people think of morality, they always go, oh, sex. No, excuse me. Morality is everything. I mean, do you steal? Do you lie? Do you cheat? Do you murder? I mean, all those are moral issues. But it gives the context of what Taoism is, because the next 3 chapters, unless you kind of get a little bit where Taoism is coming from, then it's a problem. Now, this is a little bit different in one thing. Most of the books on Taoism are not written by practitioners. They're written by people who translated things, or they're kind of on the surface. I've done this my whole life. So there's that. Then the next section is ordinary sex. So it's ordinary sex, which means if you have a body, you have a mind, you can do it. And this gives a lot of perspectives that are out there, as well as practical things you can do. I bring up a lot of the ancient Chinese texts, do this, do that, I mean.
Right.
Men want to be able to go longer, but there's also a lot of things that women need to know about. And I made a real attempt in this book to make this as relevant to women as I could. Of course, I'm a little bit limited, that being a man, but I can feel what happens inside a woman's body. And I also had all the Taoist priests who told me a lot of stuff when I was going through that. And I've known a few women in my day. That's a good way of putting it, okay? So the next section is sexual qigong. There you start talking about that if you're going to have sex, and why do you want to do sexual qigong? What do you do it for? How do you do it? And it starts showing beginning things people can do and explain. And it also, in the middle, as they in bridge practice, well, if you want to actually do the stuff, what sort of qigong things, what's at least some of the qigong things you need to do if you want to be able to do it in sexual meditation? Because every single energetic technique that is done in Tai Chi, that is done in Qigong, that is done in Taoist yoga, that all that stuff at an energetic level is done during sex.
Let me just quickly give us a quick definition of Qigong for those that don't know it.
Okay, it's composed of 2 words. The first word is Qi, which has 2, as a simple translation, it means breath, but what it really means is the energy that breath can be the door into. So it's the same word as prana. It's the same, some people could say, at a certain level, Qi can be psychic energy, but the energy of karma, everything is composed of energy.
Okay.
And so Qigong is the science of that. And Gong means effectively to practice. Like a worker is a Gongren, which means a person who does work.
Okay, so Qigong is...
Qi practices.
Practice.
Yeah,
Qi. Okay.
Exactly.
And so sexual Qigong,
Is how you do Qigong when you're having sex.
Okay, so I'm just taking our audience with us.
Sure.
And then the next more evolved section, which is sexual meditation, which is now building on what you just said. So what is the third section?
So what you have with sexual meditation is we start with people have spiritual blockages. You take the more easy stuff, right? So people say, oh, spiritual, I have emotional and mental traumas. Okay, so that's an easy one. Or I'm traumatized for X, Y, and Z degree. So they're practicing how do you resolve those? Not by doing a therapy session, but inside yourself and get it done. Chinese history was that very often with the way emperors and everything were there, you could not say what was going on outside of you. Your head was off your shoulders. You had to resolve the stuff inside yourself, or you'd live with it for your entire life. But then you go to the next thing, okay, the things you want to get rid of. I mean, nobody wants to be angry all the time. Nobody wants to hate themselves all the time. Nobody wants to hate everybody else all the time. But then you start going a little bit further about, well, what about the things I want to bring out of me? Happiness, joy, compassion, openness. Well, what's stopping you from doing that?
Excuse me.
Those are what are stopping that. Then you go, and usually stuff starts at the physical, body, emotion and mental level. And then it goes into the psychic world, and then it goes into the world of karma. And those are things which, if you haven't really got the first 4 down, people talk about the psychic world, people talk about karma, they talk about essence, but that's about as far as it ever goes as talk. But these practices actually, step by step, teach you how to go through it.
And you found sex to be a really good way? I mean, obviously there are lots of ways, but...
It can enable you to move 4 times as fast as you can just sitting.
That's spectacular.
And I've done sitting. I mean,
Sitting
for example,
meditation.
once in India back in 74, 72, 73, I mean, I spent 10.5 months sitting in a cave. I was doing solo tantric practices. Okay, another time, once upon a time, I sat for a week. I sat in a room, boom, and I sat there for a week. So I've done sitting, so I have a pretty good idea of how much energy gets generated by doing that kind of stuff. The only thing about, if you get to sexual meditations, first you have to learn meditation, you have to know how to release your own blockages. Then you go to the next step, and that's what sexual meditation does, about how do you go inside someone's body and release theirs. And then you go to the third step. They release yours, you release theirs, and then something starts happening that neither one of you can pull off on your own. And this is kind of the way in which it progresses. If nothing else, you know, you get a lot of problems with life. Life has a lot of grief in it. Sex is actually one of the nice ones. It's one of the ones that compensates for some of it. And the more, if nothing else, these type of practices make people immensely sensitive, and it enables them to start experiencing realms of their being that normally there's no access. Maybe they're words, but there's no access. You have no practical way of getting there. So this book was not primarily a book about explanations. It was primarily a book to be for access. And I'm not even so sure that the primary purpose of this book is for now. It's not for 20 or 30 years from now. Because at some time, and I've written this in the book, the AIDS thing is going to be over. At some time, they're going to come up with a cure for all that. So my head is that back in the 60s, which I'm a 60s kid, in the 70s, the sexual revolution was starting, and people were going through all sorts of things to work out the sex thing, and they were starting to. And then it got to a point, beside the fact that everybody could go sleep with each other, well, what about all this emotional stuff it brings up? And then the AIDS thing came, and everything just got slammed shut.
Right.
You see, the Taoists, for 3,000 years, from that point where it got shut down, they started looking at, well, what about the emotional, the mental, the psychic, the karmic, the essence implications of sex, which is something the West has never gone into. And so where I think this book is as much for future generations as for this one, is that at some point that issue is going to get resolved. Now most people today, they only think about now. So it's only now, what's now? All accounts what now. But yeah, but you see, the thing is that life goes on as long as the human race is going to go on. And these issues are going to come back. And a lot of the issues that come up in sexuality have, within Taoism, as it goes further, they have ways to directly transit a person. Okay, you're going to die. They believe in reincarnation. Okay, they don't talk about it in the beginning, but later on they do. You're going to die. Okay, what are you going to take forward? And sex is used as one of the very strong methods to be able to do that. So you don't start all over again. Or take, what's the phrase? Maybe you made one step forward in this life, you may take 3 steps backward on the next round. So, and this is now a very, very Asian, the whole idea of reincarnation. But for those people who can understand what that is, and many can, this is a Taoist perspective, and they're open about it. They're open about sex. Even Buddhists who have stuff, and Hindus, they're not particularly open in India about Hindu Tantra. Not really, not the sexual stuff, not the Maithuna, no way. Buddhists, are you kidding? That's their most heavily guarded secrets. That's very, very hard to get in that, for the same exact reasons Taoists are, because they don't want people getting in over their heads and basically going crazy. But the Taoists are very, very systematic. Taoism was known, and it's been in Western writers, they were called the mystic scientists of ancient China. The regular and the mystic, they're very much about, okay, they have a scientific kind of mind that if something can be done, there's a how it gets done. And, it's not just why you should care or the excitement of it. It's actually, okay, wait a minute, if you think this is cool, well, how can you actually make it happen? As opposed to think it's a really great idea for it to happen, but it never happens.
Mm-hmm. Is there a difference between Taoism in China and Japan?
There's not that much Taoism in Japan. But I mean, for example, the Japanese have the word, they have the ideas, but they don't have that much practicing Taoism in Japan. I mean, some people say, well, you do Tai Chi, which is a Taoist art, but you see, that's kind of like public outreach in one sense, based on Taoist principles, does Taoist things, but here, I use this example, I've used it many times in my life. Back in the 1980s and 70s, most of the Christian art that was sold, right, the pictures, the statues, it was made by Muslims in Indonesia. Malaysia. So the fact of the matter is that you could make crosses, doesn't mean you're a Christian. Matter of fact, frankly speaking, you could be from Mars and just kind of come down and learn the relevant craft technology. Mm-hmm. So Tai Chi is, but that's probably the thing for which Taoism is most known. But that's not the religion of Taoism. I shouldn't say, that's not the spiritual practice of Taoism. The spiritual practice of Taoism is there is a branch where there is spiritual Tai Chi. But that's like, 1/10 or 1/100 of 1% of all the Tai Chi that's out there. Most people in the public don't have access.
How did you get into this originally? I mean, years ago.
Oh.
What drew you to that direction?
Well, I guess we're back now in 1968, 69.
Okay.
In 67, I went to Japan to go to college instead of going to college in the States because I was big into martial arts and shiatsu and healing and Zen. I've been sitting in Zen since I was 14, so back, 63 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go. So I went my first year on there and, I'm on 2 teams. The karate team I actually competed in, the other one I just practiced with. And then that year they were the All Japan University champions. So I did that martial art thing. I mean, really heavy. I mean, I had like 8 black belts before I was 18. I mean, I was like, that's what I did, like an obsessed artist. Okay. Then there was somebody who I knew back in New York, and he told me, and I went to Taiwan, and he told me about this guy who was, like unbelievable and whatnot. So I studied with him. Okay, so I'm there, and we're doing stuff, and I'm staying in this like real dive of a hotel with really thin walls, and it was in Asia. I didn't have much money, so it was like that's what I could afford.
Right.
I was lucky I could actually get to Taiwan to begin with. Save my pennies all year long, as the phrase goes. But then I was with a girl, and let's just say we vibrated the hotel a bit. And one of his students worked there, and so one day through a translator, he's saying, "Oh, you like sex, do you?" "Oh, really? Sounds like you do." But he says, "But do you know how to do it?" Because I got very upset and whatnot, and he said, "There's more to sex than being, there's more to sex and there's more to health than just being young. It's also how much chi you have." Well, that did it, and he made some overtures, and he just asked some questions about sexuality and about Taoism. But the next year when I came back, I was invited to join the Taoist priesthood. He had some friends, and this is like very secret stuff. But they became my sponsors, and I got initiated into it. And at the age of, 19, 20, I can remember what year it was. That was about, that was my entry into the priesthood. And then I was a 7-year course of study, and then later on I was on a couple of years with someone who was like the top of the line in Beijing.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So this book, this is number, I don't know, counting, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah,
you've written a lot of
like
books.
that, yeah.
And if you look up Bruce Frantzis, you see the spelling of his name, Frantzis, Francis. You will see a lot of books. But as you were choosing subjects along the way, did you or do you mention sex in them?
No, this is the first one. The situation went like this. In 1989, it just started becoming very obvious I was entering one of these windows where I could be dead in a couple of years. Didn't know. I had no idea where it was going to come from. But that's how it seemed to me. So I felt that at least from all the time I spent in China, it was 11 years, and I should leave something. And people say, "Oh, you should write a book." And I don't particularly like writing. Never did. I'm not a literati. I mean, some people like it. I was like, please, reading no problem, writing, But what happened was that, okay, I had some students and they really were, so I said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll dictate and you type on the computer. And so they did that, and that went on for a couple of years, and then finally at the end, I kind of just buckled down and got a computer, and of course, I got a laptop, and I worked on it for 11 days, 10, 12 hours a day on a thing, and of course, I did something, and the whole thing blows up, which almost got me off. But anyways, got back on the horse again, and I finished that book. And at the time I did that book, I got 10 ISBN numbers. That's what you give the Library of Congress so you can get a book.
Yeah.
And I've basically just been working my way through, because I saw that if I was going to try and communicate this stuff with Taoism, since I'm a single source, I'm actually someone who really went in, really did it. I wasn't getting it from somebody said, and having a Western perspective, I can more or less translate it, and not translate like literal translate, but like, what is this thing actually talking about? Right. And I started writing. So I never exactly know what book I'm going to write next, or if I'm going to write a book next, but I've commonly had 2 or 3 going. For example, this one. In my first 2 books on Taoist meditation here, just are 2 chapters that Some of that stuff's in this book. Some of that stuff's in the Sexual Meditation book. But I'm going through that, and that's kind of almost done. But then, other Qigong things had to get done. Different things came up that I thought were really needed at the moment. And then somewhere after my kids grew up, or something, I decided, okay, well, I can see they're gonna be out of high school in X number of years. And so I said, okay, I'm really gonna go for it. And then finally I got down to it for 2 years. It was nonstop, full bore, morning, noon, and night. So it's been germinating for 20 years. And I said some of the stuff that's in there was done, in 98 or something like that.
Wow. But you put it all together. I mean, I tell you, like I said, I started in and just didn't have enough time. What do I say? Larry King gets the Cliff Notes version, and all these guys. I really was, as I was reading, was like, I wanted to read it slowly and really get every word, because it was very comfortable reading and very inviting and an easy style for me to understand. And now I came upon practice. So this is the kind of thing I think, well, I could read forward, but I should probably find a study partner. That would probably make the experience richer.
I would say if you want to do sexual Qigong or sexual meditation, it probably helps to have a study partner.
It would help to have a study.
I think rubber dolls really don't cut it.
Right. So to me, that's a very exciting thing. As I'm reading it, I'm realizing mores about sex. I don't have any moral restrictions or feel restricted. And I thought, this would really be a wonderful thing. That's why I think I talked about Christians, starting with them. Because what puritanical attitude and such isn't only Christian, but this really, you make it comfortable and much more matter of fact and available.
What you have, one of the major words in Taoism that defines it, like love does Christianity, or you could even say in Judaism, retribution. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That's the Old Testament. He was a wonderful little god, that guy was. But the fact of the matter is that one of the things in Taoism, and of course love is the same thing, there's two, there's three. Love or compassion, balance, and naturalness, being natural. They just look at sex as a natural activity, and like any natural activity, some people like it more, some people like it less, some people like it this way, but they don't see it as a special thing. They just see it as one of the natural wonders of the world.
Which is interesting. What if there was going to be a section of this book that, as you're sharing with an audience, you'd like to make sure that they, as they go through, they don't miss that? It's probably full here, but
I can say this, right? No, you can't. That's like saying, like, if you had 5 kids, which of your kids would you want to, tell people to hell with the other?
No, I mean, sometimes when I'm sitting with someone, they say, I want to make sure that I tell them this. It's really important.
Okay, let me look. So, this is what I would say. If they wanted to know something about Taoism, right, then I would say just about Taoism per se, then you read the first section of the book. That's it. Now, if you're looking at that, you think that you might want to do things like Qigong, you might want to do sexual Qigong or sexual meditation, I'd say read the thing on the bridge practices, because that at least gives you an idea of some type of things you need to do. Okay, because that's what if you're actually going to do something, if you're going to write a book, one thing you have to say, you have to learn the alphabet, and you have to learn basic grammar, because without that, the book is never going to fly.
Right.
Okay. I would say that if a person wants to go beyond ordinary sex, because this has stuff with ordinary sex. I mean, how men don't ejaculate as much, how women can get off more, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The way, a lot of things that are very valuable in that sense. But if you want to get an energetic sense, whatever tradition, because I'm not going to say Taoism's the only one. It's the most open, but I wouldn't say that they're the only people who got it. I mean, that is a fairly natural activity. Then I would say, okay, then you read a section on energy sex. Now, if you want to know about meditation, and to most people the idea of sex and meditation, those are two words just like really don't go together, then you're in the chapters 16, 17, and 18. If you want to get what the real point is in how you become enlightened, which means that, as they say in Immortal, they say of Buddha, he knows everything simultaneously that's going on at all times, all places, and all dimensions, then you're in the chapter 18. So it really depends what you're interested in. the more stuff that's really specifically geared toward the meditative process, the meditation process, the awakening process, that stuff is in 16, 17, and 18.
And I'm sure that when reading through, it's going to stimulate people to see what other books you've written.
Sure.
Because some of those books go more into different areas that you've now put into here, yes?
Yeah, well, yes. First of all, this is the fourth of the meditation series. The first three of the meditation series was to get people ready for this book, in the sense of that, or this one takes that a little bit farther to see the full context of it. Then I have several books on Qigong, medical Qigong, ordinary Qigong, about general energetic development, which those books have been very favorably received, and it's caused a lot of chat, brought a lot of information to the West, that after I did it, it became well known, but not before. Then I have a few books on internal martial arts. One of them has been called by some people a Bible of internal martial arts. Martial arts may or may not be your thing, but if you understand the idea of Qi and what all that can mean, it's another way of looking at it. Mm-hmm. And these are, meditation, Qigong, martial arts, these are the three big subjects. I've not yet written anything specifically on the Chinese energetic bodywork healing techniques, which is, I was a Qigong doctor in China, so I did 10,000 patients, so I know quite a bit about that. Wow. But, getting a book written, I'm not going to say I'm the greatest writer in the world, but I'm extremely clear about what I'm writing about, and somehow I make sure at the end the editors make something that is, very nice to read, which by myself I don't know how far I get with it, but I know exactly when it's in there, and it's right. I know it actually says what it's supposed to say. It isn't diluted. It isn't watered down. So my thing is clarity as opposed to what I would call literary genius. Honestly, I think that'd be the only honest thing that could be said about it. But yeah, those are my other books. And most people have found, I try to make them so that they can be understandable. Let's put it this way. The talent I have of the people they say that can make incredibly complex subjects as simple as they can be made. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think there's a limit to how simple you can make some things that are very complex, but I do it about as well as anybody in any field.
I was going to say,
I'm told that all the time.
Well, I find in speaking to you, you're very clear and very direct and no hesitation. You cut through. My mother used to say, well, actually, my old partner said, "You're a lot like God. You don't beat around the bush, you burn the bush."
Well, yeah, whatever. I don't know if I'll go for God, but anyway, no. My nature is that way many people describe me is cut to the chase. Yeah. I just like to go to what it is because being a lineage holder in Taoism, which is to the best of my knowledge, I'm the only Western one that's ever been in Taoism. Is to try and do what it can to transmit it to the next generation. I'm trying to cross the East-West bridge, trying to bring this stuff to the Western world. And as far as I'm concerned, to beat around the bush, to make it very pleasant, just to make it very nice. Yeah, you get, for sure people will love you more, but 90% of what you're saying, it won't hit the mark. Right. Because it's very, very easy to talk to people just go, and they love it. But then, afterward, what's there? Not much. So the Taoist, and I think that's more about my role in the time and the place I'm in. Mm-hmm. Because Taoists traditionally, it's even very hard to get them to talk about what they do to anyone. They're not trying to be public. But I think that the condition the West is in, I think that becoming public, it requires you get that straight through and to try and get it out there because, look, a lot of people can recognize the world is not in the best shape and it's clearly not going in the ideal of all directions. And it's not due to a lack of people with intelligence. We got more we know what to do with. It's to do with people whose heart and whose minds and whose spirits, they're just not together. They're all separate all over the place. So, my thing is just, tell it like it is. And that's enough, and then you find out what happens.
I'm sitting on the same bench with you. That's how I like being. I want you guys to take a look at this. I am looking forward to reading it and enjoying the practices. I think that we should be getting together after I have a little more experience. I know that I've had a couple of people who wanted to already, are ready to ask questions. And I think we should start enjoying this book.
I should say that the majority, sure, I think people should enjoy the book, get a lot out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lead into the other practice. But
Yeah.
I mean, I spend the bulk of my time and half of the past 25 years teaching Tai Chi and Qigong and some healing work. And only about 10 or 15 years ago, I started teaching meditation, because Taoism has this opinion, and I actually agree with it, that, you know, a lot of times you want to aim really high, huh? Now, if you're doing things in the external world, you can leverage things to go from here to there very fast.
Right.
You can leverage money, you can leverage talent, but when it comes to your inner world, you can't. And you actually have to go to each place you have to go to, or you don't go past that. And the example I use is that there's a very famous phrase that to do with the Buddha, because he's a well-known public figure. And, you know, and it was the 10,000 lives of the Buddha. It wasn't the 15 lives to enlightenment. It wasn't, you know, the New Age thing of, oh yes, you know, 5 seminars and blah, 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 or, you know, get inspired and you will arrive. Okay, fair enough. I mean, you know, money seminars all over the place. How many people do you know have got 50 billion bucks? I mean, not many. But in terms of your internal world, you see, you can't leverage anything. Only thing you can do is get close to things that know it is and hope you get what you can by osmosis, and then through a lot of hard work. The classic phrase, which is used in Taoism and a variant of it in Buddhism, Chinese, 师父进门连载个心, means that the teacher takes you into the gate. Or what's the Buddhist one? The Buddha shows you the path. You have it. Taoists say one practice, so that's that.
And based on a 4-to-1 ratio of leverage, well, not leverage.
A lot of leverage.
But you're saying that sexual meditation, 4 times as much energy created.
Yeah.
Right? That's a reason that every one of you should, no matter, I was going to say for people of all ages. Well, what age the Taoists talk about?
Very few people start before puberty.
Oh, I'm glad to know that. So, basically, whether you're 50, 60, 70, 80, 20.
Yeah, my first teacher, who he was the person who introduced me to people who took me to Taoist priesthood, he was going at it hot and heavy when he was 80.
Okay, all you out there, we're going to get people off the benches. It's good.
Yeah.
I really enjoy sitting and talking to you, whether we're sitting in front of the camera or not. I very much appreciate you, and I'm very glad to have had the opportunity to sit with you and share you with this audience. And may all of you share about Taoist Sexual Meditation by Bruce Frantzis. There we go.
You can always find on energyarts.com, or obviously it's on Amazon and whoever else the books are on.
Right. Thank you very, very much for joining me.
My pleasure.
Thank you guys for joining me. We'll see you again. Aloha.